Stop right there. You're trespassing on community property and I'm calling 911. That's the first thing I heard even before I got both feet out of the moving truck, standing there with a lamp in my hand and cardboard boxes still scattered across my new driveway. Morning sun glinting off a fuchsia pink blazer like some kind of warning flare. And there she was, Serafina Cross, president of the Sterling Ridge Lake HOA phone, already glued to her perfectly manicured ear like she'd been rehearsing this scene for months. Water lapped the edge of my private dock just 40 feet away. Ospreys circling overhead, their calls tangled up with the distant shouts of kids playing across the lake. Picture-perfect morning for a fresh start. Right? Yeah, right up until the moment the local self-appointed queen decided my arrival was a threat to civilization. I set down my lamp, family heirloom brass base flashing in the sunlight, something my Aunt Margaret would have laughed about. "Ma'am, this is my property," I told her, nice and calm, as if a clipboard and a set of acrylic nails made somebody the law. Her eyes, icy blue and sharp as a winter wind, narrowed on me like she was measuring me for a casket. "Your property," she repeated, making it sound like a slur. "Sterling Ridge Lake operates under strict covenants. Nobody moves in without HOA approval." Especially she gestured at my cargo shorts and faded college t-shirt. "People like you." People like me, huh? If only she knew. Behind her, I spotted a neighbor, maybe late 20s, leaning over a porch rail with a podcast mic tattoo on his arm and a camera pointed straight at us, not even trying to be subtle. I caught his eye and he gave me a little nod, smart move, because in about 20 minutes all this was about to turn into a show worth documenting. If you've ever had an HOA try to shake you down, smash that like button and drop your state in the comments. I swear it's always the ones with the clipboard that act like the rules are the 10 Commandments, only they wrote them. Let me back up a sec. My name's Garrett Rothschild. Until 3 weeks ago, I was just another burnt-out software guy grinding away in a Madison office for a company that had replaced me in a heartbeat if I missed a deadline. 33, recently divorced, and suddenly the proud owner of a lake house I hadn't set foot in since high school, thanks to Aunt Margaret's will. Margaret was the family oddball, the kind who mailed birthday cards from places you had to look up on a map, always talking about secret government conspiracies and painting watercolors of the lake. When she passed, the funeral was small, just family, and the lawyer handled the rest. Everyone breathed easier when her will gave the lake house to me. Nobody else wanted to deal with it. But I saw a way out of my dead-end job, my dead marriage, my dead routine. So here I was, unloading a truck, breathing pine and lake water, daydreaming about second chances until Serafina showed up. She was about 5'6" in designer heels, platinum hair and a bun so tight it probably hurt, pearl earrings, clipboard fused to her arm. She started in with her emergency voice loud enough for everyone in the county to hear, telling dispatch there was a dangerous male squatter at 847 Lakeshore Drive. I looked down at my cargo shorts, then at the lamp, like, seriously. "Ma'am, I inherited this from my aunt. I have all the legal paperwork." The name Margaret Rothschild made her blink. "That woman's been violating community standards for decades," she snapped. "We've tried to get her to comply since 2015. Podcast neighbor, who I'd soon learn was named Blake, called out, "Funny thing about HOA corruption. The crooks always document everything." Serafina hit him with a glare that could freeze the lake solid. "Blake, this doesn't concern you. Go play with your microphones." But Blake just grinned. Predatory HOA practices are exactly what my show covers, Mrs. Cross. Real crime isn't afraid of cameras, it's afraid of the right edit. By now, Serafina was waving a folder thick enough to choke a horse. "Regardless of what your aunt told you, this property is in violation. Unpaid fees, dock modifications, landscaping, exterior paint." I looked at my house, pale yellow with white trim. "Isn't this just off-white?" I asked. "Yellow is prohibited," she snapped, slamming her folder shut like she was on TV. "You also owe $14,300 in back HOA fees and penalties." "On a house I inherited yesterday," I said. "I'm going to need documentation of your authority to collect that." I'd learned the trick in divorce court: never admit, never pay, always demand the paper trail. Blake started scribbling notes, and I realized he was more than just a nosy neighbor. "When was the HOA established?" he asked, voice all casual. "Several homes around here predate it, don't they?" Serafina started twitching. "The HOA was properly filed and has authority," she said, but her voice was losing its edge. I made a show of dialing my phone. "Hi, Mom. Yeah, HOA president is claiming I owe $14,000 in fees. Do you know a good property lawyer?" Serafina's face went full fuchsia. That's when she pivoted. "Why don't you join the board meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m.? We can work something out." She shot me a parting shot. "Remove those boxes, or it's $500 a day in fines." Then she and her little entourage board members I hadn't noticed before strutted off like ducks in designer suits. Blake wandered over, waiting until they were out of earshot. "Welcome to the neighborhood. That's not even a record. They forced the Hendersons into bankruptcy last year with $32,000 in fake violations." I felt my stomach drop. "How is this legal?" I asked. "It isn't. The Hendersons' house was built before the HOA, like half the properties around here." He explained the scam. HOA invents violations, slaps on impossible fines, then offers a community solution: Sterling Acquisitions, LLC. Quick cash, always below market, ironclad arbitration so you can't fight back. 8 houses in 3 years had gone that way. Here's where things got weird. Blake had the property records. Margaret, my aunt, had been quietly buying up Sterling Ridge land for 40 years. More than half the community was technically hers, including Serafina's own lot. "If your aunt owns the land, Serafina's just a tenant," Blake said. "She's got zero authority." We dug through Margaret's files that night. Her basement was a treasure trove of old deeds, maps, legal correspondence, even letters to the Wisconsin DOJ reporting Serafina's racket. My podcaster neighbor, turns out he was Agent Blake Morrison, DOJ undercover for 8 months. He showed me his badge and said, "Your aunt's evidence is about to blow this place wide open." So I suited up for the next morning's emergency board meeting. The place was packed: neighbors, Serafina's army, even some folks I didn't recognize. Serafina strutted in cool as ever Navy suit this time. She launched into a PowerPoint listing every made-up violation: mailbox, height, paint color, unauthorized wildflowers, you name it. Then the kicker: $14,300 due in 24 hours or foreclosure. But good news, she purred: Sterling Acquisitions is offering $250,000 for your house. Market value was at least $400,000. That's when I stood up. "I'd like to address the board," I said, pulling out Margaret's deeds. "Mrs. Cross, when was this HOA established?" 2015, she replied. "And you're sure you have authority over homes built before then?" She got defensive. "That's basic property law. Actually, under state law, you can't retroactively impose covenants unless they're on the deed. Mine isn't. Neither are the Hendersons. Or yours." The room went silent. "And another thing," I added, holding up a rental agreement. "My aunt's company owns your land, Mrs. Cross. You're a tenant. Last rent paid 2014. Faces in the crowd started to shift. People pulled out phones, started filming, whispering, and finally asking questions. Serafina tried to gavel her way out. "You're obstructing community governance." "No," I said, dialing again. "I'm just making sure my mom hears this." Into the phone. "Hi, Mom. Time for Plan B." The room realized at once my mom was the governor. Cue the convoy of black SUVs, state police, FBI, and my mother, Governor Patricia Rothschild, walking in like she owned the place, which, as it turned out, our family pretty much did. Serafina's face went white as the snow that would soon fall. Governor Rothschild addressed the room, calm but ironclad. "Mrs. Cross, you've been running an illegal real estate scheme under the false authority of an improperly established HOA. All collected fees will be returned. Any liens null and void." Agent Morrison, now fully in DOJ mode, read off the charges: racketeering, wire fraud, theft by deception. Serafina and her husband, who just happened to be a local judge, were cuffed and led away. Restitution was ordered for everyone. Fraudulent sales reversed. Families got their homes back. Our lake community went from fearful silence to hugs, tears, laughter. In the weeks that followed, we set up a conservation trust with Margaret's properties protected the lake and wrote bylaws that made it impossible for any HOA bully to ever take over again. Blake, sorry. Agent Morrison turned his podcast into a national crusade. Serafina's empire collapsed. Her shell companies seized her legacy. Nothing but cautionary tales for law school textbooks. And me, I sat on that porch at sunset, watching the osprey hunt the kids, play the neighbors, wave, knowing Margaret's fight wasn't wasted. Sterling Ridge Lake finally belonged to the people who lived there. The only thing left was to wonder how many more communities are out there fighting the same battle, waiting for someone to dig up the truth. So, here's my question to you. Would you stand up to a corrupt HOA, even if it meant blowing the whole thing sky high? Drop your stories, your thoughts, your wildest HOA nightmares in the comments. And if you think justice is worth the fight, hit like and subscribe, because trust me, there's a lot more where this came from.